I noticed that there were 3 chapters in the book of Genesis that is perhaps the most comprehensive book which contains the truth. You see, Adam brought forth by the breath of God. For the first time, the Lord God breathed into man the breath of life, and man became a living soul. So man, in his truth, is breath, but covering him is flesh and blood. Paul of the Bible said that, well, Adam was perfect because he implied that Jesus Christ was the first Adam. You may think so, because if you think that way, you have an explanation to believe that Jesus doesn't have to be born of 2 parents, but come from as a virgin birth in a singular way. So you have a reason to believe in that. And Paul, who never got married in his lifetime, had a very good explanation for what is taking place. That he saw in the first Adam, he saw Jesus as a singular man. But what Paul couldn't really accept, and he didn't say it, was that the first Adam was lonely. That's right. Yeah, he couldn't find a companion. And God showed him the animals. And many homosexuals had animals in their bedroom to reduce their loneliness by having a companionship. But they couldn't find it. They couldn't. Of course, there are pleasure involved when male and male relate to each other, but they couldn't find that true companionship. And that's why God had to do something for the first Adam, for the singular man, for the Jesus. So I have to use the word Jesus because I realized that many people think that Jesus is the perfect man. But then Jesus is lonely. Okay, anyway, so what God did was very interesting. God put Adam to sleep. Now this is a very significant event because in putting Adam to sleep, what God meant was that we are all actually currently, even now, asleep. That's right. And the female of us is actually brought forth from us. And in this sleep that we are now in, we could see on the other side a female. That's right. But something must take place in Adam to relate with that female of himself. As the Bible put it very well, Adam saw the flesh of my flesh, the bones of my bones. Yeah, that's how he should do it. In other words, Adam realized that that woman up there is of the same soul as him. In other words, the frequency were the same. Yes, I have to stress this very important fact, but you may not realize it. Most people do not understand. So anyway, I'm not in this video going to explain what that is. But the point is that there is a similarity in the frequency. With this similar vibration, when the flesh is the same as my flesh and the bones is the same as my bones, similar frequency, very interestingly, one flesh can be brought up. Why did I use the word one flesh can be brought up? Because it was brought up from the 2, Adam and Eve. It was brought out from Adam and Eve. So in other words, the relationship of Adam and Eve was meant to be opposite and yet of the same frequency, so that there is some kind of a nullification, so that from between these two parents, Adam and Eve, came forth the one. That's right, the one son, you may put it this way, or the one flesh. So Jesus didn't do that. He remained unmarried. Yes, that's right. So it is important for us to realize that we need to relate with an opposite, but of similar frequency, so that we may find a nullification, so that out of these two opposites come forth the one flesh. And that's the whole purpose of existence. That's right. See, Genesis chapter 2 describes the purpose of existence. Get it straight, right? Yes. The whole purpose of existence is that there is a duality. Out of that duality come forth the in-between, one's flesh. And this duality cannot be a male and a male. It has to be a male and a female, because it has to come from yourself to the other side. It becomes female. But it has to be of the same frequency, because flesh of my flesh, bones of my bone. And with these two conditions, these two opposites, is enabled to bring forth a son, the fruit of their coexistence in this hall. So this is the problem. The purpose of existence is shown very clearly in Genesis chapter 2. And I have nothing to explain. I don't know what to say. Just have to realize that that's the purpose of the universe. And what is very, very beautiful about what happened in the story of the Garden of Eden is that when God put Moses to sleep, it is actually a kind of frequency being passed through. A plasma, for example, passing with a frequency, they become two opposites, one positive, one negative. And this is exactly what happened. Every person has got a certain frequency. In other words, that person is living in a particular space-time with two opposites and four opposites. And so there are many, many frequencies in the world. And so there are many, many space-time. And space-time is a kind of sleep. It's our I am asleep. And therefore it's necessary for the person to actually relate with the opposite and nullify the space-time in order to return to the I am breath. And what's very interesting to me is that Genesis considers it a form of sleep. So what it means to me is that every space-time is a kind of dream, and therefore a space-time will never collide with another space-time. It's a dream of I am, and there can be many, many dreams of I am. It doesn't collide at all. So the universe, our universe, is occupying a certain space-time. And another universe superimposes on it, but it cannot collide because it occupies a different space-time. This is a multi-universe. It's too awesome to realize what reality is all about. But the most interesting thing about space-time is that there are two opposites, left, right, and of course there's another opposite, top, down. But there has to be got an inward movement. This is where the presence in that space-time has to nullify itself. The self has to nullify. The self-abasement and the bringing forth of the I am out of that space-time. That's how space-time born and die. But it never really dies in the sense that although it dies, it gets reborn again. And that's why every moment I have to match the frequency of whatever that is around me. Yes, every moment there is a space-time too. And when I matched it, I get reborn. The space-time suddenly disappears and a new identity, split into two parts, A and B, comes about again. But apparently with a causation. But actually there's no causation. There is simply just one. And a man should try to experience that rebirth every moment. Because that rebirth is the burst out of the one light, afresh from the darkness. And that's the only moment, I would say, when the I am is felt in its entirety. That's right. That is the oneness that is right where I am. And it's tremendous orgasm, tremendous joy. When two opposites meet and nullify. And it can be done at every moment. All I need to do is simply observe my thoughts, enter breath, follow the breath. And then when you follow the breath, you actually self-nullify into a place deeper than breath. Gosh.